Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Nexus podcast. This is episode 29. I'm your co host, M2 Dave, and as always, I'm here with my other co host, Burrito Voorhees, aka King Jr., aka Franco. How's it going, man?
It's going all right. Glad to be back as always.
All right, man. So I know I always say this, but I'm actually very excited about this one today. It was one of my personal recommendations. He is without a doubt one of the premier community organizers, content creators, commentators. Um, this individual streams on Twitch as well as YouTube. He's a partner for those two, social media websites. Um, he is maybe the biggest yeller in FGC. So I finally welcome Vape Coach to the Nexus podcast.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, man. And I don't disagree with anything you said there. Once again, it's always a pleasure being on. What's up, Burrito? What's up, Dave?
All right, man. Obviously, a huge pleasure to have you. I've been, obviously with the. Let me just preface by saying, but with us not having a final combat, no like combat tour, whatever you want to call it, I think um, it's just amazing what you have accomplished. Obviously, alongside Rip Serena, and want to give him credit as well as Demon Lobby. But I feel like you maybe stepped up more than anybody else. I feel like you stream like every day or every second day. Like I've been watching your channel for a long time because I really like this game a lot. And it's like, man, I want to pick up a different character. I'm like, where should I watch high level players? And I always go to Vape Coach's channel. Sometimes I'm busy, I cannot watch live, but just today I finished watching, and actually I'm still in the process of watching the world's strongest MK1 players collide. I'm literally about halfway or so in. So thank you so much for streaming this game that I enjoy, and anybody else who's involved in your staff. At least I appreciate it. I know so does King Junior. So I just want to preface by saying all of that.
Oh, thank you, man. No, it's a huge, it's a huge thing to hear that from you, man. Like somebody I used to watch like way back in the day and stuff, and now it's kind of coming full circle. Yeah, dude. No, I love streaming every single day. I love doing these events. I love organizing them. I love hosting them. I love seeing the community's reaction, and it's cool making the players happy as well and giving them like an outlet to come through and play. They seem to really enjoy it. The community seems to really enjoy it, and we always say we're not going to stop streaming until the lights shut off or something close to it. So yeah, no, it's definitely something fun to do. It gets me up every single morning.
Can you like tell us when you started and what kind of and what motivated you to get started? As far as what you have been doing.
So officially streaming, I started back in 2021. I was telling Burrito, I started streaming on a laptop. I didn't know really what I was doing. I didn't really know how to organize events. I didn't know much about commentary. I just, you just kind of fall into it because I used to play a lot of MK11. That's where I started, and so yeah, no, we would just do events and stuff. They started off as exhibitions. They turned into tournaments. Next thing you know, you've got a whole season on your hand, and and then yeah, so MK11 is where I got started. I've always been a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Since 5 years old, it was the first game I played, but I think I wanted to find my place here in the community, and was never really like a top level player. I wanted to find like a place where I could excel and still be he's part of the community. He still does this. He still does that. So streaming is where I found it. And over the years, we've made some adjustments here and there, with events, what regions we host, commentary style, who we have on with us, and as of the last year and a half, things have been going really, really well, and that's pretty much my origins there. Yeah, I would say it started MK11.
Um, can you maybe specifically talk about how it was initially for you? Was it like difficult to? Because I noticed every time I watch, you have like essentially one of the best players within that region. Whether it's I know you do a bunch of streaming, but I'm watching like Ronald. I'm watching Legenda and War.
Mhm.
They're very strong players. Like initially, was it difficult to get those type of names? Promoted. Like not necessarily promoted, but like to get them, to get on your channel. Like how did you accomplish all this?
So I have to give credit where credit's due, man. Rips Arena all day. In 2021 or 2022, I believe it was, I just saw how much fun he was having over there. And there was nobody else really doing events for Europe. And I came from doing North America events. That's basically, I didn't even know Europe had players. I was so new to the scene. I didn't really understand like this is worldwide, not just North America. So Rips invited me over. I do commentary for him a couple times. We hit it off. We're good friends. And he tells me, he's like, why don't you like start just hosting events for these guys as well? And the time I got off work, it actually ended up working out just fine. And so from MK11, I met a lot of those top players. They came over, they gave the series a shot. And from then, it's kind of just been through osmosis since then. In MK1, this guy tells them, hey, this guy does events. So they start coming over. And a lot of these top players you see now, they weren't always top players, I would say. They
Correct.
slowly just started leveling up and they slowly started getting better. And they, now they're top players, but they weren't before. So it's just kind of like, I feel like they just have a lot of trust in the series. They know that I'm trying to do right by them. I'm trying to get as many of them paid out as possible, and I think they just really they believe in what the stream is and what it stands for, and that we do try to do things orderly and fashionably, and just try to create a great experience for everybody. And there's usually a good amount of people watching too, so I think something about the live crowd, it kind of amps them up. So yeah, no, I think they just have belief in the series.
No, I think they have believe in you, and your competence because, dude, I'm serious. Like I remember back in, you mentioned, players like me because we used to back when we competed, we used to actually like have local scenes, right? But those, as you know, more or less, they have they've been dying down,
Yeah.
especially after COVID. So
Mhm.
I think you will be instrumental, especially like for the future. Obviously like Mortal Kombat 1, we still watch, but obviously the game, is kind of being quote unquote replaced by these newer games, especially these Marvel, Tocom, whatever. I don't plan on playing them, but it's kind of clear that, like that's kind of where the hype is, at least momentarily. So when the
Mhm.
next game, the next Mortal Kombat game or the next Injustice game comes out, like I hope you get 10 times more subscribers, 10 times as more views, because I think you really really deserve you really really deserve it, because I think like you are the future, because as far as like tournament orgs, we don't have those locals anymore, right? So you kind of do you see yourself in those shoes that I'm
I would
describing?
say I would say, I don't know if this segues into something else that you had down the line. I would say that the online scene is kind of what I want to hold down. I don't really have a lot of aspirations for offline commentary or offline event hosting, at least not as of now, just because like this is kind of my wheelhouse. And I guess, maybe people don't like change, but I just feel very comfortable in what it is I do here now. But you should still support your locals. Still, I know that
Absolutely, yeah.
I know New Jersey still has theirs going on. Every once in a while, here in Southern California, you'll see some stuff STG's doing. Um, but overall, I'd say my place is the online scene. It's just much easier to kind of get together. It's much cheaper, and yeah, no, yeah, I think the online scene's kind of where I plan on staying for a while. I've been to one offline my entire life. It was really, really good. It's just how prices are, getting to places, stuff like that. I think that's always going to be a bit of a hurdle, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. We were just not too long ago talking about Evo, obviously, which took place what, couple of weeks ago, 2 3 weeks ago, and the traveling involved, those costs, the hotel costs, just the venue costs, just have been so um have gone,
Mhm.
they've gone up so much, it's just, I'm sure like a lot of people can still afford it, like, but why would you, for that type of money, you can go on vacation to Cancun, enjoy yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's like, you kind of, so especially if you have a family, it's like a pick and choose situation, right? So I don't blame you pursuing a more of an online, uh, online tournament format. Uh, but hey, man, you never know. Like, look, a lot of these content creators, they start online, and someday, they're commentating Final Combat. I think you're in that position because you're passionate. You obviously like what you're doing. You're not in it for yourself. You're in it for the players, for the community. And honestly, like, as my generation is getting older and older, we kind of need people to step up. And I think you're doing the right thing for sure.
Well, I appreciate it, man, a ton. And yeah, like I said, this wouldn't be possible without Rips. I give that man basically every bit of credit that he deserves. He like there's a couple times I stopped as a content creator. You get burnt out from time to time, and I've definitely gone through my fair
Absolutely.
share of that.
Yeah.
Um, so like he's always been the guy that says, "Hey, man, you should get back to streaming this and that." So owe him a lot of credit, a lot of thanks, and I mean he's the guy that's holding it down. If I take a day off, that guy doesn't, But we occupy like a little bit of a different space, a little bit of a different niche. He's on earlier than me. I'm on later. Um, but yeah, no, definitely one of the goats of the scene as well. And yeah, without him, this wouldn't be possible. But yeah, streaming's fun, man. I love doing tournaments. Yeah, we just got done
Yeah.
doing one.
because I think Rip, if I'm not mistaken, he's from Europe, if not Germany. I'm not exactly sure, right? Because his streaming schedule is probably different than from you, and you are, I believe, from the West Coast, United States, right? So, but if people want to catch both live, they easily can, right?
Yeah. We usually go in order, so it'll either be him first, and then me, or me first and then him. But yeah, I commentate with him when I can, and yeah, he's a real good guy. So I believe in what he's doing. He has a lot of faith in our stream as well. So yeah, no, it's definitely kind of like a 1-2 punch, me and him.
Absolutely. And again, like as far as like what could be coming up with with a new game which could be announced at any time, right? Again, I think you, Rip, obviously, Mr. Aquaman, folks at Demon Lobby, I think they're doing a good job, because we really need to build this community up a lot more, right? Mortal Kombat is arguably the most popular fighting game aside from maybe Smash, right? In just strictly speaking, like casually, right? Like, yet our games don't have the numbers that I feel like we deserve. Our players don't get the credit that I feel that aside from Sonic Fox, that I feel like they deserve. I think it's really time to take like the next step, and people like you, the content creators, the tournament organizers, you guys are definitely doing the right thing. So, do you think we can do it? Take it to the next step? With people like you, Rip, Mr. Aquaman, again, the people at Demon Lobby, maybe some others who will step up. Can we get to the next level? Can we
It
get
really,
certain Evo numbers, et cetera, et cetera?
I really just think it depends on the direction of the game. I've streamed Mortal Kombat since midway through MK11 came out, and you're able to make your critiques on the game. You don't want to be a downer on any of it, but you are able to kind of look at some things that may or may not be good, and but you try to see the positive as well. But when it came to this game, man, it just unfortunately it was I think it was a tough sell. You remember the launch and stuff, and like I said,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
want to be a downer about it.
absolutely.
Um, but and me and Rips were talking about this a little while back. What I feel like MK11, it had a 4-year, roughly. COVID had a lot to do with it, but it had a very long life cycle. And I think it was that way because of how casual it was. You were able to hop on. It was 1v1. This game, it tried to introduce something that ended up, being a little controversial in the form of cameos. It's not very easy. Like if you and your friends grab a pack of beer and a pizza, and you sit down and try to play this game, there's a lot that goes into it. You got to know what cameos are going on. You got to know the meter. You got to know this and that. I would say that Mortal Kombat itself might need to go in a different direction, maybe back to the basics. I know I've heard you guys say that a lot. Um, but I think something like that would definitely help it. Because as every game comes out, there's a new gimmick or there's a new something with it. Whereas MKX, there was the run mechanic, nonstop combos. MK11, it was crushing blows, and those were met with its fair share of scrutiny. And then MK1 was the cameo, and MK9 just seems to be beloved forever, man. That was before my time actually. But I know a lot of people look back on that like a really good game. And Justice had its issues too as well. But I would say for people like us, if we were going to do so, there's a lot of good content creators for this game. Honeybee as well,
Clearly.
Super, whoever basically a lot. If this game, if we're going to take this game in the right direction, I feel like the game itself has to give us a lot to chew on, basically, for X amount of periods at a time. Whether there's not a balance patch in a while, or something, but like you see Rips talk about it every once in a while. He has to censor his YouTube videos because the blood and the gore and stuff like that. And I'm kind of conflicted about when I think of stuff like that, because you don't want it to take away from MK what it was, which is supposed to be people killing each other. But I would say Mortal Kombat itself would need to kind of decide what their next step would be. And I know this branches out into a whole new can of worms, but that's pretty much it. Like, I would love to be the guy here at the helm, just keep doing his events, which we do plan to do. But I would like, I look forward to what's next, to say the least. Yeah.
No, well, I think you mentioned a great topic, and I literally, like, as I'm working out, as I was doing my work, and I'm watching your stream, I'm literally like thinking about this. I think one of the problems is that the game is not really marketable. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
how you feel about the game. Look, man, I don't like MK11. I love this game. Like whatever, everybody has their preferences, but like there must be in the next game, if it's a Mortal Kombat, there must be like a blood turn on, turn off option, because these games, I know YouTube probably has law, like the rules and regulations, and like it's a difficult game to sponsor, right? Like it's a difficult game
Sure.
to promote if one guy is ripping another guy's head or heart out, right? It's just difficult, right? It's like you can't advertise the game, and promote it to the kids, right? So I think something needs to be done about this, and I think NRS needs to implement that option. And like, so streamers like you and dude, Mortal Kombat is the only game I cannot stream at work, right? For obvious reasons. I can look at Street Fighter. If I want to watch Smash, obviously I can. If I want to watch Tekken, I can.
Right.
Guilty Gear, right? As long as the costumes are not too crazy, right? Like whatever, some nonsense that's too revealing, but you can watch it. Mortal Kombat, you just cannot, and obviously it affects viewership, it affects sponsors, right?
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
But
No. Yeah.
yeah, King Junior, go ahead and jump in. We don't want to leave you out of the. What do you think about? Do you want to see a blood on and off? I think this is honestly at this point like almost like mandatory.
Yeah, I think that's something we definitely need going forward because like I know Destroyer, Honeybee, and many other content creators like that get more like eyes on their channel to where YouTube's like monitoring their channel, and I think I want to say it was Destroyer that had like a video get like demonetized or removed off his channel for like the blood and gore and stuff. I think, and you can even see Sonic Fox and Ninja Killa. I think use that like filters in their videos. So like, it would be nice if there was just an in-game mode that you could check on or off to where it just filtered it for you in some way. Um, I think it would be a little difficult if they like kept X-rays and fatal blows going because like I don't know how you make those cinematics not bloody or like I mean I guess you like unless you literally made it simple as like black screening or something or blurring whatever but yeah it's definitely something I want to see like 'cause a lot of people have talked about it and I know like the Dead or Alive community has even got like concerns about like censoring like too revealing of costumes, like you said, because I guess that's pretty popular in their game. So like, it would just be an uphill battle if we didn't have like something to in game uh, censor like those things or whatever. And yeah, it's just like you said, like in a tournament setting, whether it's like online, offline, like it's just really hard to market stuff like that.
Honestly, I miss like not in terms of gameplay, but like aesthetically, the X-rays from Mortal Kombat 9. Like I kind of miss my X-rays actually like not looking like fatalities. Like how's the guy standing up after you literally crush his lungs? Or are these all like a Mortal Kombat characters like Wolverine and Deadpool? Like they have like regenerative like properties that their bodies or something. Like it just doesn't make any sense. I wish they would like tone those down. And like, what? There's nothing wrong with a guy like punching you so hard. I don't know, your jaw starts shaking or something. Like, why does everything have to be so extreme? I know this is like super fluff and super subjective, but I kind of like that. And then you have your fatalities that actually look like fatalities. Like whatever body parts flying around, exploding, dismemberment. To me, at least, that would make I would kind of bring it back. Tone the fatal blows down and not make it look like X-rays, and then have the fatalities be what they are. Um, Coach, what do you think?
I think it'd be a great idea. No, but the problem is that kind of strips away the identity of Mortal Kombat. I see what the developers are thinking, like why you're buying this game. I'd love to see YouTube become a little bit less strict, like this isn't made for kids type of thing. If you click on this video, you're gonna see the crazy stuff you guys just talked about. But I don't know. I don't know if there was an option, everyone's doing pay for services now. If they came out with a new Mortal Kombat game and you had to pay, $10 a month to keep your blood filter on or something, cut that in half and send it to offline prize pools. I think that'd be a great option. But like, we're willing to be proactive in this scene as long as, as long as people are playing ball with us back. But I know there's PC mods you can do for blood filters. I'm like scared to download any of those. But I would love it. Yeah, no, a blood filter. And as far as like the crushing blows, it's MK, so it has to be extreme. It's the coolness factor. And as a kid, that was amazing. I still love it to this day. But like from a business perspective, it's kind of like, damn, I got to go back and re-edit all these videos and this and that. Like Rips tells me the headache he gets and he has to blur out everything. I know
Oh
Destroyer
yeah,
said the same thing, and It's just kind of like, man, is the juice worth the squeeze at this point? But ultimately, though, you do want to keep it going. So I'd be very curious to see what choices they make for the next MK. I think hopefully they have like a big sit down. What do we want to do about the blood filter? Because wasn't in like in Mortal Kombat 1, you had to actually turn it off or turn it on, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
don't. Yeah, I don't know which game it was, but there was definitely something in one
Hmm.
of the games and kind of
Oh,
turned the blood off. And I forget how the fatality. Dude, I'm with you. I think it starts with the game. It starts with the developers. If they
yeah,
truly want to support everybody in the scene, which I think with this game, not the first year, we already know the game had issues, and trust me, nobody spoke out about those issues more than people like Tom and I have. But
hmm,
it's some like you said, like they have to create a game. They have to design a game that can appease most people. I know it's subjective, and many
hmm.
aspects are, but like I think it starts with the blood. At least for people like you deserve it, man. Like why should you be editing rips out, right? Why are you guys editing this stuff for no reason? Like there should be a blood on off code, right? And I'm sure you
Sure.
you know you make it more. And by the way, I generally believe like more of our players would get sponsored if the game looked more, quote unquote casual, more viewer friendly. I guess is the right word. And again, you guys would do less. It's just they have to do this. I think they need to implement such a thing. And look, you want to play with blood on? Nobody's stopping you. Do it. Like, but I think we all want options. Street Fighter Six set the standard with all their online options, online gameplay. The way everything kind of fits together. Now it's
Yeah.
NRS and WB's turn, and that's what I would like to see.
Yeah, I think.
Oh, without a doubt.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, 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 no. You're good.
Um, like one of the things I could think they could do is like I know in past games, like when you fought against like one of the boss characters in MK9, like they just fell over and like wouldn't allow you to fatality them, like unless you did like some special requirement on the arcade ladder mode. I forgot what it was, but because you could babality them or whatever, but in normal circumstances, if you didn't do like the setup or whatever to babality them or whatever, they would just fall over like it by default or something. Like you didn't even get a chance to do like a brutality or fatality, and that's like one way I can see them implementing it. Um, streamer mode. Like they could put like streamer mode or something for the setting name, and if you have it checked on, it like disables fatalities or something for like the viewership like purposes and all that stuff. That's like one of the things I can see them using in terms of like a feature they had in a previous game that they could repurpose or something. And then if they had like the revealing costumes from MK9 go into the new game, then they can try to filter out like the costumes if they decide to go that route again. But they've been pretty tame with the costumes as of these last couple installments.
Yeah, man, and also like when you play ranked, um, sometimes you just want to get as many games in as possible, and I feel like fatalities. Again, I know it's Mortal Kombat, but like they kind of hurt the pacing of you leveling up. So I would like an option to turn them off because look, I got an hour to play, and then I gotta go to bed, whatever. Gotta get ready for work. I want to maximize that 1 hour. That's kind of how Street Fighter Six works, right? And Tekken 8 to a lesser extent. Like you just get as many games as possible. The gameplay is fluid. The options are like move along fast. I think that's what I would like to see, even if it kind of interferes with some of the gore. To me, honestly, it doesn't matter. I still play Mortal Kombat for the characters, for the gameplay. I don't necessarily play for the gore. Um, where do you stand on that? Would you be Vape? Would you be okay with like if I disable like a if I disable the gore, I don't necessarily have to what you do your fatality on me. Would that be too much? What do you think?
It would have to come with a certain amount of caveats. Like, for example, I know
Yeah,
like a lot of people, like you mentioned Noor, for example, a lot of people look forward to his post match. They want to see him
true, true.
teabag, they want to see him fatality, they just want to
Yeah,
see people walk each other down. If it could be something reasonable to where you still kind of get to like pop off on your opponent at the end, but maybe not, fatality them, then I can see us being on board for that. But what it just sounds like to me is like it's a lot of extra work for NetherRealm to go through. But I would, or WB, whoever ends up owning the company. But I just see the rewards being so good. Like you get to advertise your game everywhere. Like Mortal Kombat notoriously, like you were saying earlier, does not get a lot of sponsors. This is our way of kind of, getting even more mainstream, despite the fact that I think it's truly one of the most popular fighting games, if not ever. It's certainly up there. But you can show this to people. You don't have to cover it up, nothing like that. I think it'd be definitely a step in the right direction, and like it'd be good for advertisers to want to come in. YouTube's not breathing down your neck. I think maybe some kind of middle ground could be reached to where maybe you turn the blood off, but you let the post match shenanigans continue, something like that. Brutalities would be another option you'd have to think about. How would you handle those? Because a lot of players are always looking for those. So there, it would definitely be like a big thought process you would have to think about. But I definitely believe giving more options is the way to go moving forward.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
as someone who loves brutalities like myself, like I'm been pretty critical of like brutalities and MK1 especially because you're like locked out of brutalities mechanically like when the finish them screen happens, which is super annoying. Like for people that do want to see that stuff like myself or make videos on it, it's like really restricted in terms of like executing some brutalities, whether your opponent has to be specifically only standing or they have to be like mid distance, like mid screen distance, some stuff like that. But like, I do think it would be nice to have that middle ground, so you can still do the brutalities, but like maybe like I know it might look silly in some cases, but like maybe just like the ones that don't involve like decapitations or dismemberment, I guess like I don't know, like there's characters in fighting games that use swords and no blood is drawn, like Smash Bros, for example. Like if there's no like decapitations or anything like that, you can just I guess not have blood for it in case like Melina, for example, is like just tearing her opponent like with the her size, but like if there's no decapitations or anything like that, you don't necessarily have to have blood for it. But yeah, it is definitely like an obstacle, like because if you're not going to have dismemberment of any kind in your brutalities, and you're kind of like maybe a little more limited in the like outcome of your brutality. But yeah, it would be nice to have that middle ground. I think brutalities do kind of throw a wrench into that because usually the fatalities are the ones I'd imagine that get flagged from YouTube because they look more realistic, and since they're like cinematic and you see like more of their facial reactions, and it's just more detailed than a brutality is.
Yeah, like you guys are like talking about the nuances, and I agree. It would be very tricky now that I think about it. But again, at least the conversation I think should be had, and obviously we're having it, so we'll see what they do. But Coach, let me ask you about this one because I think you mentioned you mentioned Mortal Kombat 11 earlier. Let me kind of tell you how I feel about the game, and then I want your response. Um, I think for me initially the game was a lot better because I feel like the game was more balanced. A lot of the characters were used to be stronger. And the name kind of ended up being, I don't know, like Fujin and maybe 5 or 6 other characters. I think Fujin was clearly the best at the end. But forget about the power levels and the tier list. Just setting that stuff aside. Like to me, the game kind of feels counterintuitive. Like, because what's one of the first things that a casual player or even an intermediate player would do, right? Playing the game, they kind of go into practice mode, try to they practice a combo, then they go and rank, maybe try to do a combo on you, right? But what's the first thing that happens? Like if you try to do a combo in that game with most characters, right, on somebody, they break away and they combo you in return, and that's when you realize, the best combo to do sometimes is just to launch or to down two or just punishing with your crushing blow. And then what's the second thing I guess most people would do, like kind of practice your Oki setup. If I knock down, then this is what I do. And then what happens? Well, somebody either does wake up buttons or rolls on you or jumps or does wake up fatal blow, etc., etc. And then even obviously at slightly higher levels, you have like the flawless block mechanic. You think, oh, this is a cool defensive mechanic. If there's a gap in a string and I practice enough, then I can flawless block and launch the player with an up two. But that's when you realize you fight maybe a great player like Ninja Killer or people like who are below him. They do a string that's like -2 or -3, and what do they do? They flawless block your retaliation, and then they combo you in return. And I feel like a lot of the universal gameplay elements just don't make any sense. They're not fun, at least just strictly my opinion. They don't. They're again kind of counterintuitive to what you would expect, especially after a game like Mortal Kombat X and Mortal Kombat 9. What do you think?
I think those are good points for sure. I think what happened after MKX, it was just such a shot of adrenaline that they realized, okay, we got to slow this down. We're gonna make this more neutral and footsie based. And I understand what their mentality was going into it. Um, there was some bad things about MK11. It doesn't get off the hook for me. I think what made it. Oh, first of all, like yeah, regenerating meter. By the way, I don't. I think that was bad. And breakaway is probably the worst mechanic ever invented in MK. But it had some stuff that I think really appeals to the casual player and viewer. Like I said, you have a friend over, you do a Shang back one down two KB or a down 2 KB. And oh, I just got 25%. How'd you do that? I don't know. This game's awesome. Like I can see people's mentality when it comes to that. It's simple. There's not the combo damage was not too much. Like in this game, like Prime Kenshi was going crazy. 20 seconds it felt like. But like that game, I feel like it was a nice little middle ground, but it was a couple balance patches away from being actually perfect. Like, and then with custom, Cetrion's running around like crazy. Cabal's doing whatever he wants to. So they maybe failed to balance some of those, and then some of the mechanics. Yeah, flawless block up two is still one of my favorite to this day. It's the most fraudulent mechanic ever in Mortal Kombat, but I always liked it. It was fun. Flawless blocking on hit was the scrubbiest mechanic ever. But I don't know if we're just looking back to it because COVID MK11 was in my opinion, some of the best Mortal Kombat we ever saw. Everybody was doing events. There was something big to look forward to every single night. Outworld TV was going crazy. And then with this game, I feel like this game could have been sold like it could have done, better than it did. It's just on launch. You remember the issues on it. I know you guys have talked about it from time to
Oh yeah.
time, but this there was just not enough. And even to this day, like the invite system is still one of the worst. Like I have to re-add my co-commentator every single day just to get him in the King of the Hill. Just because WB doesn't recognize we're friends. So there was just some quality of life. If this game had rooms, I feel like a lot more people might either be doing events or joining events just because of how much more simpler it was. That's one of the bright lights that MK11 had. It had lobbies, rooms, all that good stuff. Um, but this game, I do believe, just from a visual standpoint, is far more entertaining. Um, like just watching this stuff, I can sit here and watch it all day rather than Sub-Zero 4-2ing or back 3ing his way to another 3-0. Um, which trust me, I've gotten to see my fair share of. But yeah, no, this game visually, I love the way this game looks. I think it's bright, it's vibrant. The combos look cool, the cameos look cool. I just think from a player perspective, we don't get a lot of casual viewers who turn intermediate who eventually turn high level because in order to get them, you have to get the beginner player who's interested in the game. They jump on, what cameo do I use? I don't know, I'm already lost. There's combo videos from 2 years ago, half of them don't even work anymore. Um
Yes,
and
yes.
so yeah, stuff like that. That's just kind of my little rant on
No,
that.
no, 100%. Like I was trying to look up something. Yeah, I was interested in some of the stuff Noir was doing, right? But there really hasn't been a relevant Peacemaker video that this, much less Peacemaker Jax, right? Like in probably like a year at least, right? Like a lot of the stuff is outdated. The community really hasn't posted anything on YouTube in a long time, right? At least like more like a nuanced guide,
Mhm,
right? And you
mhm,
just kind of get into the game, you don't know what the hell is going on, like I agree with you. And by the way, I think this is the reason why MK1, in my humble opinion, is a better than MK11. I don't think MK11 is scrubby. I think that anybody who calls any fighting game scrubby, I think, has lost his mind.
mhm,
But I do believe that this game is kind of on the right track for sure, as far as like the depth. There's really no character like Gears, like MK1 Gears and MK11, or even probably even an MKX, right? Like to use that character properly, you have to like put in the work. And I would even say the same thing about Homelander, not to the Gears extent, but like definitely Homelander. I would even say Cyrax. I mean, again, I hate fighting Cyrax. She makes me mad, but like to like do the bomb setups properly, like you have to know the rain, with the Ermac, right? I mean, I can just go noob. I can just go on and on, right? I feel like this game is kind of rewards the player putting in the work. And I would say even the same thing about mine. Like Kung Lao Sector, I learned that team largely because of Kale. And the reason we don't see him a lot is because, like I think you kind of have to know what you're doing with this, have to know what you're doing with the spacing. You have to be able to execute aerial hats, like I just like the game. That I think it makes a lot more sense. You know, a lot of the stuff to me is we can talk about legacy because I know Frank was going to bring it up. Like a lot of the aspects about the game are legacy. You know, their aerial combo system is from Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The flawless block is from MK11, but adjusted to, for the stuff that everybody
Mhm.
hated. The combos, right? They go on and on. They're very very long and they're very flashy, like you say. So I feel like I agree with you about the cameo system. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and rightfully so. I think everybody has a right to their opinion. But like, if you exclude the cameo system, most of the stuff is in the game is legacy. Honestly, like, well, it's kind of gives you a flavor of some of the previous Mortal Kombat games. Um, Franco, what do you think?
The I still think the features you named are more on the side of like Easter eggs or callbacks than actual legacy. But um, yeah, Coach. I don't like. I know you said MK9 predates your time. Uh, I don't know if you meant that like as just a streamer or like did you like play it even like before your streaming days? Like, do you have any familiarity with the older games at all? Because if not, then I might not like dive too much into the legacy topic like I usually do. But um, yeah, do you know anything about like the older games or why they might have been beloved or like just your own experiences with them, like playing them at all? Or
I was a senior in high school when MK11 came out, and or not MK11, MK9 came out. So I didn't really like it was I didn't really have time for any of that. Like I would go to my friend's house, they would have it, and I liked what I saw. The game looked incredible. I was like telling him like this is Mortal Kombat. Like the last memory I had of it was like the arcade era, Deception, Armageddon, and those didn't end on the best note. The Midway got sold. And then so I followed it as best as I could, and then I've gone back and watched a ton of tournaments on it, like when Foxy was going wild, Sonic Fox, of course, Perfect Legend. So I'm like very familiar with the characters, what they do. I got to watch it at Combo Breaker this year. Another great experience where they went down the NRS lineup. So yeah, I'm familiar with the game. You know the ins and outs of it, not so much, but I remember who was doing good stuff, and then I remember the Evo finals and stuff. Yeah, no, but I basically followed the entire game. Like I'm pretty good at about like what's MK1 all the way through MK1. Well, um, but yeah, so I mean, yeah, no, I'm familiar with the game. It's just I never had the pleasure of streaming it. I don't even know if streaming was around that often. That in back it was at 2011.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely wasn't my strongest start or suit. I basically came back like middle of MKX when I saw Aaron Black, and I was like, "This is a cool character. I want to see what this is about." He's just shooting people, and that's what got me back in MK was that character right there.
I think the romanticization from Mortal Kombat 9 is one of the things that's wrong with the community. And by the way, I say this as somebody who's gotten top 8 at Evo, in that game, who kind of, that's what most people remember about me. And I don't say this just to to brag about myself. I just say it because the game really hasn't aged well. It's a very broken game, not just in terms of the balance. I mean, forget about the balance because that's already broken as it is. But like the game just doesn't work properly, right? And I know King Junior will say, well, if you pick this one thing that the game does well, pick two things. I don't know, man. I think it was time to move on. And I listened to Tom Brady, talk about how he would design characters, based on whatever MK9. Dude, some people just have to move on, man. Like, look, I liked Freddy, but you can't really have a zoner like that in a modern game. Like, name me one modern zoner. I don't play Guilty Gear, so I'm not familiar with Happy Chaos. But like JP, like it's probably the closest thing you get to Freddy, right? Like he has a spike, he can control the pace, he has decent neutral, he has mix up, right? There's your Freddy. Except he's not broken and he's doesn't shoot. He just doesn't shoot fireballs, right? Like so, I think NRS, not just NRS, Capcom, and obviously Tekken is 3D, but I'll include Namco and Tekken as well, right? Like they obviously have done some readjusting as far as like um what's a passable and respectable archetype that everybody can play as well as enjoy, right? So like when you stream a match, you don't have pre-patch Peacemaker just fucking shitting on everybody. Like and be like, what the hell is this, right? Like this is what dominates the game. It's boring. I don't want to watch. I don't want to play it, right? Like, and yes, you have to make adjustments for a modern audience. And I feel like focusing too much on Mortal Kombat 9, pretending it's this great game, I think is a major mistake because it was not a great game. What sold the game, and we could talk about this later, is the community, are the players. it was so entertaining to watch Perfect Legend, CD Junior, Rio, Pig of the Hat, 16-bit, et cetera, et cetera. It was entertaining. Those people sold you the game because they were characters. Literally, they were comic book characters. They were so entertaining, and I feel like that aspect is often unappreciated, whereas the game is overappreciated. But yeah, King Junior, go ahead and jump in. I know you probably have a different opinion on this topic.
Yeah, I think like as far as like your example with like Freddy, like obviously Freddy, like what made him over the top was like being able to meter burn teleport out of things, like, and he had like a tracking meter burn projectile too. But um yeah, I think you can still have the foundation of Mortal Kombat 9, and obviously not including the bugs, because obviously that was, I'm sure that wasn't intentional, and that's like a mistake or design like fault error that I'm sure NRS has learned from, and they've definitely polished up their games a lot over the last installments. And um, we there are things we can notice about MK9 that are bad, including the bugs, and even outside the bugs, like low profiling and some characters just having like crazy armored attacks, like Sonya, for example. So I think there's a lot of bits and pieces you can take from MK9 and learn from as well. So I think a modern like game and like the foundation of MK9 would be cool, like being like the pace and movement it moves at. Like I like my dash blocks. Uh, it's on the faster pace side, like I said, in terms of movement combos for the most part, unless you're like Cyrax or Smoke. Um, the jumping mobility, like not nobody floats in the air like Solomon Grundy and Injustice One, or like MK1's jumps are a little floaty looking, honestly. Um, yeah, it's just nice and fluid. The strings like are pretty crispy. Like they don't feel like they have like 150 frames to them, like Havoc's back 224 or something, um, or Johnny's like 2134. I think that, yeah, 2134. I think that string is, or even Garrus to a certain extent, like 4242. That's like a pretty slow string with a lot of like animation time to it. So like, yeah, the strings at MK9 and MKX were just like boom boom boom, or like a lot faster on average. So I think those are just like a lot of the good things you can learn from MK9, like in terms of what did well, and obviously what did bad. Just do what you can to not repeat those mistakes, such as the low profiling, the bugs like meter drain glitch, player one advantage, which we did have like a weird player one advantage variation in MK1, where like Sub Zero was like the prime example for people to go to, but player one side Sub Zero could do combos that player two side Sub Zero couldn't do, and it was like a left and right specific thing, I think, or it was player one and player two specific. But either way, stuff like that is just obviously things you learn from, and uh, what did work. And I know that's kind of subjective, and it's hard to tell what does work all the time, because and like the lack of legacy appeals to so much of different fans of MK in terms of gameplay. Like that's why I feel like the lack of legacy just creates a subdivision of a community, like going into every new installment of MK. So it's just what I'd like to see going forward. In my opinion, I just like to see a foundation built off of MK9 with some extra polish and like a little more archetypes than just Rushdown. I know I kind of said a lot, so I'm gonna let somebody else jump in.
Well, let me just say this, and I'll let then Coach can respond. The problem is that legacy is essentially synonymous. The game doesn't play the way I want it to play. Like, because you can make a case for anything legacy. It's Mortal Kombat, right? Why shouldn't legacy be running, right? There was no dash block until much later games, right? Until MK9 made them popular, right? Running came way before with Mortal Kombat 3, right? So who's to say that my dash blocking legacy should triumph your running legacy, right? I think these are honestly silly, and I don't want to be it's not just plain stupid talking points, because I think it's, as a developer, you want to try new things, and it's your job to implement new gameplay aspects. I understand this is where Frank was right. Like sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and the community likes them, sometimes they don't, right? It's just that's just reality. Like how in Tekken 8, a lot of people don't like the heat system, but that's they told you the game was going to be more aggressive, and they told you what it's going to do, and they still threw a tantrum. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing with cameos. Like people would people would say, "Man, my character sucks in this game unless he's paired up with these two cameos." Well, yeah, that's called an assist-based game. Like, what do you want? Like, yeah, Kung Lao, like when he doesn't use sectors, probably not as strong as when he uses sector. What do you want? Like the same with Morrigan, with Chris G using her and zoning, and then if you try to jump, you call Doctor Doom's missile. Yes, that's what makes her strong. Like, welcome to the game. That's the way it's played. But I feel like some people go a way out to just make silly arguments. Uh, I feel like you know if anything is legacy for me personally, you can just keep the inputs the same. Like if Sub Zero's ice ball, if you want to throw it, just quarter second forward one, man. Just keep it, through each game. I think that would be something that would keep a lot of people happy. And I think the movement, it's not even a legacy thing. Just keep it fast. I think nobody wants to move, at a super turbo MK1 and MK2 pace. Like it should be fast. The dashes should be fast or whatever. If you're not gonna have dashes, then have run. I think some stuff we can kind of all agree on. Um, Babe, are you kind of in our camp as far as some of these kind of gameplay
Yeah,
elements everybody kind of agrees on?
yeah, for sure. I would say like I see you guys talking about legacy and stuff, and trust me, it drives me wild as well when Sub Zero's ice ball is a different command in 3 straight games. Um, but um, I'm of the belief that NRS has not really found what system it wants to carry on. Like I feel like every single game here since MK9 has been an experiment. We saw it in MKX with the running and the variation system. MK11 gave it to us with crushing blows and custom variations, and now MK1's doing cameo. I feel like they have not found their template. Like they see Tekken and they see like everything they're doing, same with Street Fighter, and they're looking to find their game where like, all right, maybe we're not making everybody happy, but we made a majority happy with the system. I feel like that's what they're looking for right now. So yeah, no, I feel like they say, oh, maybe we didn't get it with this game, we're gonna try it with the next one. We're gonna see if they like what they do with Injustice. And eventually I feel like they will come into their own, if God willing the company stays together and they keep producing more Mortal Kombat. Um, I think they always just want to try new things. Will this work? But I would say like the problem is like they have to recognize when something isn't good and they gotta try to make an overhaul with it. Like for example, Guilty Gear. They had Wild Assault, a huge update in the mechanic, and they basically just took it completely out of the game. They said, okay, this isn't healthy for the current meta. We're removing it. And it's rare you see MK do anything like that. They'll nerf characters, they'll buff characters, but it's rare you see them take or give a mechanic that just completely alters the game. But games like that, I feel like are just not afraid of it. They know their player base. They feel very comfortable and in tune with their player base. And with MK, I feel like it's just kind of like, all right, well, this one might have been a dud. We got to wait till the next one. But yeah, I'd like to see them take more risk on it. Why not? I feel like the players and the viewers and your new casual viewers and players would only appreciate it.
Well, you not only do you watch the highest level of play essentially on a daily basis, but you also interact with the audience a lot. I understand not all of them might be casual. What do you think the majority of the casual audience, as well as not necessarily casual, but like the people who kind of know some stuff about Mortal Kombat, maybe they have a fatal Mortal Kombat, maybe it's MKX, they want to see the run button. Do you kind of have um, a premonition as for what the people may want to see as far as gameplay elements in the next Mortal Kombat game?
Less Cyrax and less Homelander would be my number one answer for you. That would be right away. No, I see what you're saying though.
So people don't like. Are you saying people don't like the people don't like Cyrax's Vortex and Homelander's? I guess half screen command throws is
just Homelander being Homelander in his entirety. There's nothing even specific about it.
Okay.
No, but what I would say is I have a pretty good beat on at least what my audience or what the audience that we get wants. Like I know what characters they enjoy. I know what mechanics they enjoy. I know what cameos they hate. I'm sure you guys are aware Stryker is not exactly Mr. Popular. Same goes with Tremor, but I do see them asking for different stuff in the chat. Like I've had people like a big one, like not recently, but it was a while back. They were asking me for do a cameo list tournament, and I'm like, I can't. Somebody's gonna press the R1 button, and then what do I do? DQ them?
Yeah.
If it's in the game, you have to let it rock. It's as simple as that. And I've done tournaments where, I ban characters and stuff, just,
Yeah, I know you do
let's
those. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, just to see some other characters on the screen, we don't want to see X versus Y every single day of the week. Um, but at the end of the day, if you're doing an open tournament, and especially if there's going to be money on the line, like you've you got to let the players play. Whoever shows up is who shows up. But I'm very big on, if it's in the game, just let it rock. Have your fun days here and there where you ban a character, but for the majority, like if we do our seasons or our league, no, yeah, everything's good to go. But back to your question, as far as do I have a beat on what people want? I just know the characters they don't really want to see. I know the characters they do want to see. A lot of people come asking for Gearus because it's a character rarely seen. Lee May, and it's very rewarding when you can actually provide those kind of characters, though, because as a tournament organizer, especially us, the highest level of competition, those players or characters tend to not make the cut. So yeah, it's just a constant balance of trying to give people stuff they want, while also entertaining the players, keeping them interested. Um, but yeah, no, it's definitely a different space to occupy rather than like NetherRealm having to look at it and see what they want to do, because you never know which direction they want to go, if that makes sense.
No, man, and even your task is almost impossible. But didn't you have? I think it was in your channel as well as Rips. Like Ragnak using May with Mavado, right? He's doing some interesting stuff, and
Mhm.
then Noir using Peacemaker and Jax, which is also entertaining, right? Because that's not something you see every day. And I think there was a Katana player recently. I forget his name. I'm sorry, but I was watching like he was putting in some work with Katana and Jax. So there is some variety. But yeah, I completely understand why. Um, you know, the folks in the chat would be upset if it's, oh, look,
Yeah.
another Havoc Striker, another Homeland of Farah, another, you know,
There's
you
times,
know, yeah,
sorry to cut you off. There's times where it's
oh,
like a Havoc mirror, and I'll just like tell the chat, like, do you guys want to watch something else? Like, what do you guys want to do here, man?
yeah,
That's always what I've told people though, like, like the chat, they're the reason why we're either growing or where we're at, or our future or whatnot. You try to take care of them. I've always said it though, they are the star of the show. The players, we're here as well doing our thing. You have to be able to entertain both sides while not keeping the players bored, give them fresh matchups. Don't put them against the same person in the same, or in a tournament every other day or whatever it is. So it's a lot of juggling. You got to make sure the mods are on it. You got to make sure that the tournament's running well, the pacing's going good. It's a lot of juggling, I would say, but if you can get it down, man, I mean, I think sky's the limit for any future tournament hosts and anybody else who wants to host MK or anything else in the future, though.
yeah. You would know better than anybody, in my humble opinion. But speaking of Mortal Kombat One, let me ask you some.
Sure.
I know you're not a competitive player that you claim, but obviously, again, you watch these people on a daily basis, and I think maybe you've seen more than anybody else. I'm trying to see the way I should ask you this. I guess I'm just gonna name a character and you tell me. I know I'm putting you kind of on the spot, but
No, 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 you're good. You're good.
I don't. I was gonna say maybe say top tier, mid tier, low tier, right, whatever. But like you can say whatever you want. Kind of tell me what you think about the character. I'm strictly at, I'm strictly talking about the nerd stuff right now. Like give me like
Sure.
kind of like like some specifics here. Maybe which tier they're in and what's strong about them. That's kind of what keeps me going. That's why I watch your channel. It's like, man, I'm trying to level up my Havoc Striker. I know you're probably rolling your eyes, but like I'm trying to take it to the next level. Maybe get an Elder God, and that's I would watch your channel. I would watch Snake though, right? And I would watch Rips, and like, I would watch his channel, watch Snake though. So, well, let's start with Havoc. Like, what do you think? How strong is Havoc?
Havoc's a very strong character, especially after Chaos Reigns expansion. Doesn't even need to be said. Just what he can do, man. Just a full mixologist. The scoop is always going to be a thing. The character, the Blood Ball's a very good projectile, super underrated in my opinion. And you
Yes,
pair him
yes.
with Striker, and it's just mix that, like, there's layers to that mix. And like I said, I'm not an ins and out guys. I'm not going to tell you what forward one's going to do or whatever. I'm not. I'm a different space in that. I'll be completely honest. I always tell people if
Yeah.
it's not on the back of the game, I don't know what it means, but I know what I'm looking at. And Havoc, no, very very strong. Havoc Movado is making a big comeback that I'm seeing. A lot of people drop that right before Final Combat, right before he got the nerf. Um, but Havoc Movado is really doing some things. I've seen Snake Though come out with Chameleon. He's just doing combo after combo with it. And then you pair him with Striker. I would say that's pretty much his bread and butter. What Striker provides, the off-screen bombs is just absolute. It's chaos, and you don't know. You can't always hear that alert. The cop noise or whatnot. You just got to sit there and eat it. The grab, the tick throw is going to be there, and The character's a menace, though. I would definitely put him top 5. I would not put him top 1 or 2, but yeah, he's definitely up there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Just to make it more interesting, I'll let King Junior jump in and ask him, ask his character. We'll kind of rotate for a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah,
King
so
Junior, go ahead.
it's cool that your stream appreciates Garrus and like Lee May, because like I know Garrus is kind of a controversial character to some, um, but because like the reverse time or generating health and Motaro being his best cameo, who has a far teleport, stuff like that. What do you think about Garrus?
I think Gears is like one of the more entertaining characters to watch, period. And it could be just a little bit of bias as far as I don't get to see him on stream. I think it's been, I don't know, we're going on a bit of a streak now. It's been over a month since I've gotten a Gears player. Because what we do is we run all the off stream matches like how many other streams qualifiers do it, and then the top 8 ends up on stream. And you're praying, you see that one Gears player in bracket, you're like, please, 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 can you punch through today? Um, I love what he does though. I love the snap. I love the character is incredibly, in my opinion, one of the more swaggy. Um, I like everything about his kit. I understand he's very hard to play, especially at a high level. But I wish we got to see a lot more Gears players. I love like just overheading people into the snap, whatever it is. Mataro's right there. Um, but yeah, there's only about like 3 or 4 Gears players I can really think of at the top of my head. Um, unless somebody's just trying him out for the first day, but it's not exactly the highest level. So I would definitely wish we got to see that kind of character or that character used a lot more in tournament. I wish people would just kind of would be willing to take risks, but I get it when there's money on the line and stuff. It becomes a different demon at that point.
Where would you place him? Like, if you had to choose, I don't know, between like top tier, high tier, mid tier, low tier, where would you place him in your humble opinion?
I think mid tier. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of bias, like I said, because I don't get to see the character very often. I think at the highest level, like I mean, we saw Michael Seraphan and Gurr. They went crazy with him. There's more. I know Buster's out here doing his things in Rips Arena, sometimes here. I think he's a middle of the pack character. I don't know if he's the worst. I don't think he is. I don't think he's bottom 5, but he's certainly not top 10. Um, yeah, I think he's right in the middle of the. I think he's right in the middle of the pack. I mean, yeah, you guys' mileage may vary, but I don't know. What are we thinking on Gears?
I think he's high tier for sure. I believe,
Really?
yeah. Well, I play King Junior. We haven't played much recently, but this is the way I see the game. Essentially, like to me, all the some of the lower tier characters, like on the end, like let's say I don't know. I'm looking at my tier list. Like for example, Kitana, right? I think she's a good character. There's really nothing wrong with her. But the problem is she doesn't have an overhead. She doesn't have the dirt, like the dirty stuff like Cyrax or the cheap Melina overhead does like 12% on its own, or even like the Rain and the buffed overhead now that does 10%, right? Like for Kitana to beat you, the player kind of has to like either out footsie you, which in this game is not easy to do, right? With the cameos flying in and out of the screen. She kind of like has to hit you, get a hit, carry you to the corner, call Jax to set her stuff up. Even Kenshi, I hate Kenshi, right? But Kenshi has to like hit you while you're running away on him, call Centaur and do the setup, right? Homeland just has to dash. There you go. Homeland dashes, that's your mix up. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like Cyrax,
Yeah.
the moment she's next to you, that's a mix up, right? Because it's command throw or back 3-3 or whatever, overhead or whatever, right? That's a mix. There's it. There's no setting up anything, right? And um, I'll give you my character, right? Kung Lao, if he just runs away, calls double mix up, it's automatically a mix up. Because if he dive kicks in, it's overhead or low. And then that pushes you back, then he's going to zone you again. And then you have to get in on him, right? Those are the characters on my tiers that I would rank high. The characters who have like these quote unquote fake mix ups or fake overheads, like an Astra. I played King Junior like online. I was landing forward 3 like all over the place. When I played him offline, I couldn't land it at all. Like it was literally impossible because he would just react. So how do I break him down using Gears, who's a very like defensive character. By the way, has an unreactable overhead. Also has a command throw, and can run away. So I kind of separate. I look at the game as like, what can you do offensively? If you could do dirty stuff, then you're probably very strong. If you cannot, then you're probably not very strong. Just another case in point, T1000. Lord knows how many nerfs he has received, right? Doesn't matter. Well, not it matters in the context of he's probably fallen down a tier, but like he can still mix your ass. Like he's still like cold striker, low overhead. You don't know what's coming. Command throw gets in. You don't know what he's gonna do after the stupid string. Like that's very very dangerous. And those are the characters I would place high. And again, how does that relate to Gears? Well, Gears has mix-ups you cannot block on reaction. So do you see kind of where I'm coming from, or if you think I'm off, you let me know.
No, no, I think you're absolutely right. No, I see exactly where you're coming from. It's still dangerous what you're saying. The mix is still there. I think with Gearus, it's a little bit different because you kind of have to commit to whether you're going to go for the command grab or just finish the string and whatnot. Whereas T1000, the player can change his mind mid string and just
Yeah.
we're in a different demon. And that character, while he was nerfed, they took away his overhead. He's still you pair him with the right cameo. You just can't pair him with Movado as much these days. You can pair him with Tremor though, and it's pretty much the same story. Character's still pretty damn strong. Um, I think they went pretty light on the nerfs in this entire game in general. I mean, I remember hearing about every balance patch. I think the only one, being completely honest, who got it the worst was Kenshi. They basically changed that character overnight. With they took away the timer, but they also took away a lot of ways players were playing him. You don't see a lot of Kenshi gameplay. It's actually somewhat rare. You'll see him every once in a while in my events still, just because the idea of him having Sento out is so good. But with a character like with Katana you were talking about, you have to outplay to the max 100%. And that's why I love watching that character. There's nothing scrubby about it. If a player wins with that character, they are doing something very right. Like I get DJ on every once in a while, Luxury, or even
Look.
Retro, who does
Oh
a
yeah,
great
it's
job with that
luxury.
character.
Yeah, props to
Yeah,
him. He was the one.
yeah.
He was serious. And by the way, so does DJ. But yeah, like I agree with you. Like when I would add also Reptile, right? Like yeah,
Hmm.
he's an
Hmm.
overhead, but I think the overhead does like what 5%. Like it barely does that. So there's really like it's hard for him to break you down unless maybe he's invisible or had some setup with Striker or Mavado. But let me ask you about the character that I use.
Sure.
Uh, what do you think about Kung Lao? I think is another one you see on the tier list a lot, like all over the place. But having watched Kale a lot, and I believe the other plays Razul, where would you rank Kung Lao, and what do you think about the character?
I'm so happy you brought up those two because you could not find much different play styles than that. You have Rasul, who he gets under a lot of people's skin. He's very successful at what he does, but his game plan is to orbit or is to throw hat and run away until you make a mistake and he comes in. He's completely honest about it too, and props to him. He wins a lot of matches. Um, his game plan is to literally frustrate you beyond belief, and then once you get in, there's meter for days for him that he's already built up because he's thrown a ton of hats. Whereas Kale's a lot more rush down, and he's like actually looking, to take the fight to you and just get you out of there as quick as possible. Beautiful mix, by the way. As like you said, when the double rockets out, that's a 50-50 on its own, pretty much. The character, in my opinion, is very strong. I wouldn't like people were asking like, should he get nerfs? No, don't nerf the hat. It's kind of what he's got going for him. Because when that character didn't have meter, he couldn't really do anything before they gave him that aerial hat. I think he's a very strong character. I don't know where he ends up on a list or whatnot, but I mean, you see him win tournaments, you see him do well, and that's kind of what I'm going off of. That's where I'm kind of like in my own little box. Like I'm going like, how well have these guys done here, at Rips Arena or anywhere else? But that character with either Striker or Sector is incredible. Good mix, good zoning, good armor. Offensively very strong. He can play the runaway game if he needs to, and he's got a cameo that feels like it was built for him though in the form of Sector. So if that's one of your characters, yeah, no, very, very solid.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah, myself. Let's switch to King Junior. Uh, Go ahead and ask him maybe some of the characters we haven't talked about yet.
Uh, I wanted to actually ask, when it was when you guys were talking about like Homelander and Cyrax, how people like it was when Coach said people just don't like Homelander's existence, and it made me think of like the topic of guest characters. Um, I don't know if you want to keep the name said character list going, and or if you want to move on to like another topic or
It's up to
um
you. You can ask whatever you like. It's up to you.
and like I just want to say one other thing too from like one of the previous talking points, like not specifically your chat coach, but like you've seen people say like, oh, I don't want to see this character for the millionth time or whatever, and uh not just singling out your chat, but like just other like groups of people, or like just it's just part of you know the some of the nature that video games face, whether it's Call of Duty or uh, Tekken, MK. My thing is, I feel like a lot of people are just going to complain regardless, but um, not to rehash too much of the legacy stuff, but I feel like some people do balance a game based off like complaints and stuff, but there's always going to be complaining, or like design a game based off of complaining in that term of like in terms of feedback and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, I wanted to bring up the I guess like guest character talk because there's a lot of guest characters in this game, and I feel like Mortal Kombat fans, for the most part, would be more happy with like less guest characters, and like I know they usually bring money or whatever for the publisher, the developer, or whatever, but yeah, 6 guest characters is like kind of a lot, and like I don't know like how you feel about that. Like it seems like you got a lot of Ghostface stuff on your Twitch channel, like in your pop ups or whatever. I didn't know if you're like a Ghostface fan. Like I know it's not. Some of those aren't actually from the Ghostface movies, um, yeah, I just want to get like your thoughts on like the guest character stuff. If you want to see more of them, or like how you feel about the characters that were picked for MK1 or in the past.
Yeah, like so guest characters overall, we'll start with this game. I think the first combat pack was a smash hit with everybody they brought. I was cool with everything all the way through. It seemed like it was catering much more to the younger generation with Homelander, Omni-Man. It was, in my opinion, it was really, really good stuff. And then some of the characters they gave us down the road. But I think where they really kind of took a left turn was Combat Pack 2. I think that point, it was more of like what Ed Boon wanted to see. I mean, I was a fan of T2, who wasn't, but for the guys that are playing in these events or in these games, they're 14, 15, they don't know about Terminator 2. And same thing goes with Conan. Same thing goes, to a certain degree. I would say Ghostface is probably the most popular, but a lot of people, that are just jumping on this game, they grew up without that kind of stuff. I don't know if and then for the actual MK characters, Noob Saibot I think was a smash hit. Um as far as Cyrax and Sector, I remember the only complaints I saw was that they swapped genders on them. For me, I didn't really care. They were still cool. Um but as far as guest characters go, I think people just want to see more MK characters. Like this game felt like it was dedicated more to the 3D era, or yeah, to the 3D era, Deception, like stuff like that. Uh, but I don't think we got to see too much of that in this, and I think that's what a lot of people were looking forward to. Like Movado, I know a lot of people would have liked to see him as a playable character. This game was rumored about Onaga. I remember right before it launched, everyone was asking, what are dragon crystals? Is that related to Onaga? So I just feel like they didn't get to see a lot of MK characters. Like there's times when I do top eights where every single character is a guest character, and you start to kind of like it doesn't feel like Mortal Kombat at some point. I understand. Um, so I think that if Combat Pack 2 just had more Mortal Kombat characters and maybe sneak in, one T1000 or one Conan, like you have to pick from the bunch though. You have to make a decision here and then give us, other characters that we want to see from the 3D era. I think that would have been a very good twist, and I think maybe the combat pack itself would have sold a lot better, and maybe we get a third pro comp season even, because I know that there was another expansion planned after this, from what I understand. Um, just didn't work, and you got to wonder if maybe some of the guest characters affected that. Like I think I was the only one happy that I knew around me and like in my Discord, because it's all like kids and stuff. That was like, oh, T1000's coming. Everyone, who is that? Who is this character? And is this an MK character? And I'm like, no, it's from Terminator. And so they're like, what is Terminator? They know who Arnold is, but they don't know. I mean, a lot of them haven't seen
Yeah,
T2.
it tells you. Yeah, it kind of shows you
Yeah,
uh, the what's the word I'm looking for? Just how young the crowd is in the
yeah,
Mortal Kombat community. Like they don't know like Terminator 2 which is one of the most popular sci-fi movies of all time, right? Which I don't blame them, right? Because they're kids, but it kind of shows you the reality of the situation. I think the problem with I think it's okay like to discuss the selection of guest characters, but I think this is a selection that's probably made final by executives. Whoever they feel they want to put in the game, they will put in the game. I feel like as community members, of NRS or the FGC, like we have some influence about, maybe the meta, the balance of a game, whether we can obviously we we promote fixes, etc., etc. Like I feel like it's going to be really, really difficult to convince the higher ups, hey, uh, we don't want this character. Choose somebody else, right? I think that's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be very difficult to convince, hey, this should be your business model. Don't do this other one. Like support the game for 5 years, and like no, they will support the game for how long, how long the games are profitable, right? Like so, I think that kind of sometimes shows that not necessarily either one of you, right? I don't believe so, but like people like sometimes out of touch. It's like, dude, you're not gonna tell a but $1 billion company how they're going to run their business online. Like, are you crazy? Like, they're going to do whatever they think is profitable. If they make a mistake, they will probably learn from it. They will not repeat it. But I feel like guest characters is a kind of a subject that like they're going to put these characters in the game whether you like it or not. And it's just not NRS, right, or WB. It's Tekken players. Remember when Akuma came to Tekken 7? Everyone was like, this is Street Fighter. Why is he in the game? Well, he's in the game because he's going to sell a lot. And that's exactly what happened. And, he, in many aspects, made a mockery out of that game, right? Like, especially when he was OP and did like 90% combos. But, like, same thing with Geese, right? Oh, they're fireballs. Why are they here? Like, well, because they're going to sell a lot and that has a place. And, I don't necessarily agree with you with all the selections, but probably the initial ones, I probably agree with the most. So that would be my
I,
2 cents.
I think just to piggyback on that, I just think I was kind of wondering with Combat Pack 2, I'm like, who's the audience here, man? Because like, for example, recently I had Fire Axe and Kale, they're in grand finals, they're like 15 years old, and like, yeah, I'm like, I mean, they've already bought the game, they're already sold, but what about the 16, 17, 18-year-olds or younger that haven't bought the game yet and they want a reason to buy it? They take a look at this combat pack and maybe they're giving it second thoughts. Maybe they're already sold on the fact that Omni-Man and Homelander is into this, Ghostface maybe. But I don't know. And then I just think guest characters are hated notoriously just because they usually come out overpowered as all hell. T1000
Oh my
sticks
God.
out. That
He's
character's still,
ridiculous.
in my opinion, crazy to this day. Nobody believes me, but that character's insane.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Um, but Homelander still uber powerful. Um, and then yeah, Ghostface in the wrong hands is a bad day. So
Yeah, he's
that
another.
yeah,
Yeah,
put
he's
that
another
character
one.
with Tremor. Call me in the morning, man. That is a tough character. But yeah, no. So it ends up they end up hating these guest characters after a while because it's all we end up seeing, and then people are just looking forward to, can we get Katana or Melina back on here, or what's the deal? So yeah, I think that's kind of my rant about guest characters.
I think you're 100% right. That when they decide to, add these characters, they should appeal more to a younger audience, like you said, because those are the people, those are the younger players. Those are the people who may get into competitive gaming. Those are the people who are going to buy your games. I don't understand why they're including. I think T1000 is an iconic character. He's acceptable, but like, I don't know, man. Like, Rambo in Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah, dude.
I
Like Conan, he could have just been
Conan,
Kotal
yeah,
Khan.
Conan,
Like
yeah.
I don't know why Kotal
He
Khan
should.
wasn't the
Yeah,
character.
Conan is probably Rambo may be kids, so maybe remember older movies. Maybe if they're watching with their dads or grandparents. But like, dude, Conan, like with all due respect to the character, like, dude, come on, man, like that was like. Is that even 90s? I think that might have been like early, late 80s. I don't even know. Like it might have been even before my time, which tells you a lot. But yeah, like why is Conan in the game when we could have a Kotal Khan? Like, yeah, it's just. And there's nothing wrong with having an iconic character, but like, is he really as iconic as, like, I don't know, as T1000 or some of the newer characters, that the kids are excited about, like Homelander, which shows they probably watch. So yeah, I kind of question those decisions.
I have this theory that it's like a developer. He's getting ready to put Floyd in the game. He's already got the renders and everything, and then Ed Boon just puts a picture of Arnold, and he's like, "No, this is happening." And I fully believe that something like that. It's like, "No, Ed Boon wants this." I'm like, "But we already have the Kotal Khan layout," and it's like, "No, no, no, just give the sword to Conan. It's fine. It's same loadout, same moves. It's good." And it's like, all right, well, Ed Boon's you guys know he's a big fan of the 80s, slasher flicks and the
True.
superhero movies and stuff and all the action movies. So we always see like that in one way or the other here in these games, especially the last 4 games. Um so you always have a feeling like some of that's going to trickle in. I just feel in that last combat pack, like put T1000 in and maybe save Conan for Combat Pack 3, put another Mortal Kombat character in there just to kind of, just to keep people interested, just to keep them going, bring back who you have to, and then yeah, but maybe a little bit too heavy-handed with the guest characters on this one for sure.
No, yeah, I'm with you. Let me ask about a couple more characters, and then maybe one more question. You do want to be respectful of your time, because I know you just finished streaming. Which, by the way, I'm still watching as we're talking. I'm at the
Cool, thanks,
Dexy
man.
Dog Attack Potency matchup. So, guys, of course, Vape Code, check this out. Check out these matches; they're all on YouTube. Um, Let me ask you again, maybe a couple of more characters.
Sure.
Some of the more controversial ones. Speaking of one people may hate, Quan Chi.
Okay, so this one I'm completely biased since I just started playing the character. I love that character. He is broken to all hell and one of the easiest characters to just straight up pick up. Like he looked very setup heavy to me, and like to a degree you kind of do have to be, but the character's smooth as butter. I was a Shang main in this game, which was a terrible decision looking back on it, but um love the idea, don't love the execution, but we can all be critical of our characters. But no, Quan Chi, getting back to your point, is in my opinion, very, very strong in this game. He's a bit of a glass cannon, though. Of course, he doesn't have the most health, which I feel like is a nice little trade-off. He's got an overhead that can reach you all over the map. He's got multiple stand four buttons that can just kind of end your night. I think he's very good. Not so much of a zoner, in my opinion, in this game, as much as he is just more set play, a lot of armor to deal with, and um just a lot of guessing you have to make the right reads on. I think he's very good, especially when they give him that diagonal four. I think he's I don't know if he's top 10, probably not, but he's definitely a character I would recommend to people.
Man, I'm kind of wincing right now, like at the positivity on Quan right now. I've
Oh
always been like
no.
a Quan non-believer. Like I have him at like
Yeah.
bottom two. Like I don't know if I could push him lower than Tanya, but I've never been regardless if he's a zoner or not. Like I know his main game plan is a orange portal and mix, but I don't know, man. Even at that level of Quan gameplay, like I'm not saying it's not effective, but there's just stronger things in the game. So like that's why I don't have as much faith in the character. But I am disappointed to see he ended up being what he is right now, instead of the zoner that he seemed to be on release. That they were trying to design him to be until they overhauled him with the orange portal shenanigans.
I think the
Yeah.
go ahead. I'll comment after you're done. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, no, we got two combo breaker finalists. What was it, two or three Quan mains that were in top eight at combo breaker? I think overall they toned down everyone's zoning in this game, even Shang, who's shooting 5 fireballs at you. It's not really zoning, especially when he's old at space control. Um, I mean, the character is effective. Yeah, there's way better things. You put him against Homelander, that's a bad day for Quan. Or even Reiko. Reiko can do some bad things to him as well. But it's very unconventional. It's very disjointed, and I like the approach they took with him. But yeah, as far as a tier list, yeah, I don't know where he stands. Maybe 10. But if you dedicate your mind and soul to that character, probably good things can happen. Yeah.
I think having you as a character, I think actually both of you are right. And this is the reason why we see tier list Quan Chi's like top 10, top 50, not a tier list like he's like bottom 10. I think the issue is that he has certain matchups in which he does very well. And then others, like you mentioned, coach, like I was watching Rother, I think Kanimani, one of the online tournaments. This is from not too long ago, but like you can tell it was just really, really rough, right? And then you also mentioned Reiko. Uh, I just believe that there's certain matchup. The characters, I think Cage is another one. There's certain matchup he's just gonna struggle because his pokes and strings, especially his low pokes, are so bad that it's very difficult to get your turn back. And his armor is also one of the worst in the game. It's the second worst after Takida's, and at least in terms of the startup frames. So it's very difficult to beat a player who's just going to smother you nonstop and pressure you and um, do the 50-50 mix-ups, do the hard to blockables. So he's going to have matchup. He's going to struggle. That's why I believe you see this, quote unquote bipolarism on the tier list with him. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely it does. And yeah, I'm going by most of the matches I've seen, Rothor, Zupa or Killer
And
Shinnok.
they all do, like you said, they all do very well. We just had a tournament, and look like there were two of them, but I
Mhm.
still feel um, like he's this is the reason why I trashed MK9 earlier. This is the reason why I respect Mortal Kombat 1. When we said low tier in the older games, coach, the characters sucked. They were
Yeah.
useless. They shouldn't even be in the game. Like she was just complete garbage. She shouldn't even been in the game. Quan Chi can be low tier, can even be low mid tier, but he's very, very viable, right? Because we have people placing with him, right? Can they beat Kanimani on his best day with Quan Chi? Probably not, right? But they can place top 8. They can place well, right? So that's the reason why I respect. And while I watch, I know when I see, if Rio's playing Cabal against a Shiva player, I know that Shiva player has no chance. Like again, those characters shouldn't even be in the
Mhm.
same game, right? So Quan Chi, in my opinion, probably is low tier. I think Franco is right, but I think it's a more nuanced argument as far as which matchups does he lose, which matchup does he do well in. Again, he can also serve as a counter pick character. So I do believe he's solid for what he is, considering again his low pokes are terrible, his armor is very bad, his strings are not very good, his footsies are like again unless he's doing his stuff with the portal, either one, purple, orange, otherwise like then he's probably gonna get his ass kicked. But when he gets started, that you might eat that down forward 4 like 5 times in a row, because you don't want to
Yeah.
duck and get launched. So I think that's there's some nuance with the character.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. And like you said, like Burrito was saying, like there's much better options. Yeah, there is. There's a lot. Like you're not gonna see Connie Monty or Sonic Fox coming out with Quan, in an offline or online anytime soon. Um, it's one hell of a bag of tricks to solve, but if you can solve it and you can pressure him to the corner, it's pretty much GG's from there. Like you do have a win condition with him where you don't have with like a lot of other characters. Like you said, pressure him. Can you bait out the pokes or the overhead armor? Um, like there is a clear cut path to victory, which is why I do think people shy away from him. But like you said, if he can get started, if portals start coming up though, and you can't find your way in though, it's usually going to be a bad night. So he has a win condition as well. But if his win condition gets thwarted though, it's probably GG's.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, well said.
I
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
feel like he has one of the worst matchup charts in the game too, but I won't go on and expand on that. Like I feel like Smoke Quan Chi is one of the most annoying matchups ever. Like it's just so hard to deal with certain characters sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the reason why I don't use the character. I think certain methods are so frustrating. Smoke is one of them, but I think Smoke is frustrating in general, especially with Striker. I hate that piece of shit character. But yeah, I agree with you. It's very rough, and we've seen even Rotho, right? Like when people pick some of those characters, that he even he struggles, even though obviously he's like the best representative of the character by far. But yeah, it can be rough. Let me ask you about one more, another I guess controversial one. Um, Let me ask you about Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. So, I get to see basically the best players of him. Like New Orleans, like really kind of leading the flag for it. There's a couple others. There's literally a guy named John Cena who's in our events with
Yes,
Peacemaker. Um,
yes.
he's in my opinion, he's an entertaining character. There's a couple caveats to that. Like there's a couple players who will pick Jax and Peacemaker and literally do nothing but anti-gravity, and you can see Chad getting tired of it. Um, like I have a guy who will literally sit there and count how many anti-gravities like one of these guys will do in bracket. Um,
Hilarious.
and like he'll come at it 40, 41, this is and that, but it's effective and it works. I think he's very entertaining though. I love the way he plays. He definitely had to be toned down
Oh
after
yeah.
what was it? Not the last Final Combat, but the one before it. But I think with the cameos he has available, like you'll see New War come out with Farah, come out with Tremor, come out with Striker. Those are probably his best ones. But then he'll use Jax as well to go along with it. And then you'll see him like he's even like trying it with Frost and Scorpion, like just to kind of cover all matches. Entertaining character, man. No, for sure. Some of the flashiest combos I would say in the game, especially once he gets that sonic boom going. All in all, if I find out somebody's playing Peacemaker on stream, I'm generally all about it.
Yeah, I like the way he plays as well. It's very interesting, especially with Jax. I know it also like it's very salty to lose that stuff. It's hilarious, and I've seen the chat, and just seeing people's reaction. Look, I think he was definitely OP on release, like you said. He definitely needed to be nerfed. He was way too strong, but I do believe that they over nerfed him a bit. Um, I still feel like maybe that Eagly should have slightly less cooldown, not like like by a second or two, but like maybe like half a second. Because this offense again, he's another character, really no overhead. Well, aside from right the body splash, whatever, the anti gravity, but like that's not that's kind of like not a, it's not like a traditional overhead. 1-2 is great, like it's +3 on block. It sets up your offense, but again, he's another kid like doesn't really have that overhead, doesn't really have a low, doesn't really have a hard to blockable, doesn't really have something crazy to make you respect his zoning like Kung Lao does, or like you mentioned Havoc earlier, right? Like if you have to get into Havoc, stupid projectile, what's gonna happen when you get in? You have to deal with armor like nonstop, and then grenades, and then you never know when the low scoop is coming. Like on top of his strengths that have overheads. I would still rank him like lower on the list, but he's definitely solid. And if you don't know how to counter him, he's going to blow you up really, really bad. And I know that Noir has been struggling a little bit more recently, has been going to other characters. And I think that's kind of the point that like I guess people have kind of adapted to the matchup and they're playing a lot better. And he's kind of switching to some of the traditional top tiers like Johnny Cage or Cyrax, etc.
I feel like everyone has a Johnny Cage at this point, especially
Yeah.
at the higher. Like it's kind of a character you kind of can't go without with at this level. And also, I want to say I think I probably have a very skewed vision of like how these characters truly are, because I'm watching the ones that are mostly on my stream or like Ribs, who are pretty similar, or a Combo Breaker. Like I'm seeing like the upper echelon of these players, where I'm not really seeing this like top to bottom, as far as like how do these characters generally work, because you're seeing the best ones usually. Um, how do they do at mid level? If you're just kind of like an intermediate player, are you going to struggle? Well, Rothor's not struggling, so why are you? It doesn't hold a lot of water, I would say, because yeah, I'm getting to see the best of the best, like kind of on a daily basis. But getting back to Peacemaker, no, like I find the character entertaining. I think he's solid. I wouldn't put him in top 10 or anything like that, but I feel like if you can really start rolling and you know his game plan down to a T and you're a very experienced player, like there's no reason why you can't make that character work. And there's some counter matchups. Like I know a lot of like a Firex who picks Sindel a lot. I know that a lot of people will pick Peacemaker against him just for the zoning on it alone.
Yeah, I
But
do believe that's because I think Sindel in general, if you can kind of run away on her,
Mhm,
that you don't, because you don't want to deal with I'm sorry, forward one. You don't want to deal with back two and the aerial pressure, especially with Tremor. You just kind of like run away from her and never get near her. I think she kind of struggles in those types of matchups, even against Sector, right? Sector just like grenade, area grenade, area grenade. Oh, out with Motaro. See, I'm on the other side. Like she kind of struggles against that.
mhm.
It's a gameplay style, and I think Peacemaker can be very effective in that matchup, like you said.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, no. Definitely like it's kind of cool. Like a lot of these guys we'll see on my stream like pretty often, and I'm used to seeing this like, oh, attack potency is gonna play Omni Man, he's gonna play this. And it's kind of cool like seeing them like adjust to each other like day after day. Like they'll pick a different cameo, a different character, or they'll just change their game plan outright. Like I remember Firex used to pick Sindel against attack potency every single day. And then AP kind of realized that like, oh, I can just run away from him and lame him out and then punish him when he's overextending with forward one or something like that. And then we immediately saw Firex never play Sindel against him again. So it's been cool to like watch like the meta within like your own events shifting due to the players having to constantly play each other. But yeah, Sindel gets lamed out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's exactly why I watch a lot, is but just to kind of see, how players adapt and how good or bad or anything between the characters are. Like, because Fire Axe has been picking a lot of Melina recently, right? Melina,
Mhm,
Tremor, Melina, Kung Lao, and that's a character I've been trying to like improve on my own because I've been a little bit struggling. Because keep in mind I use like these armor characters like Havoc and Kung Lao, but with her armor is nothing special, right? It's decent, but it's nothing crazy. So I'm like,
mhm.
man, like how do I make this work, right? Like I don't have a half screen armor, like, and I don't want to just let my rip because I'm gonna get destroyed. So just kind of watching them, and seeing, oh, maybe this is how I need to play a little bit better. So yeah, it's fascinating, and this is why reason, part of the reason why again I like this game a lot. There's been a switch. Hey, you know what? Maybe this is not the best cameo, or maybe this is the best cameo, but maybe it's only in certain matchups. Right? There's kind of like there's some kind of progress. There's some kind of improvisation, right? Whereas I feel like when MK11, oh look, he picked Fujin. Okay, I guess I have to mirror him. It just kind of got boring. I feel like with this game, it's a lot more nuanced. Not that it doesn't have that, right? We see with Homelander sometimes, but even Kale, right? He uses Homelander, and loses. He switches, he switches to Kung Lao. He switches to T1000. Again, I believe the character variety seems a lot better to me.
It definitely is. No, that's one thing. Another thing, actually, I'll say that MK1 has over MK11. We do see a lot of characters. We do see a lot of interesting cameos that like, oh, he's just coming in with Peacemaker. Oh, he's got a Scorpion cameo though. What's he planning on doing with this? And like, there's a lot of like mind games within that though. And I like I was telling you, I love to see like how different players prep for upcoming matches. Like they're in winners finals. They know they're going against this guy. They pick a different cameo because they know they need sub armor, or they know they need the Movado slingshot, or fill in the blank. And so I think that I truly believe like this game, like people were asking me if Injustice came out, what would you do? And I said I would probably still stream this game. I'll jump on Injustice too. Don't get me wrong, but this game, in my opinion, just still has so much potential. And if we got to that Combat Pack 3, I wonder what we would have gotten. Um, because sky's the limit with that kind of stuff, and there's a lot of like untapped character and cameo potential that we've still yet to see. And I think as this game goes on though, whether it's for the next year without an announcement or fill in the blank, you're going to see like meta continue to shift. I'm sure Homelander is always going to be strong, Reiko's always going to be strong, Cyrax as well, but I think you're going to see a lot of other things, like a lot of other combinations.
No, I agree. Can you do you have anything to say about some of the characters that we have mentioned, or comment on
With
the um comment on the some of the changing meta that we have seen with certain players and gameplay styles?
Yeah, I think it is. I will say MK1's variety in the roster is like really good. Like I think it's one of the most like it has a lot of variety. Like I'd say the next closest thing to that is like post hotfix MKX. Like they're even though the patch was like not well received in my opinion and some other people I know, like including yourself, like as much as I didn't like the outcome of the patch, I would say that's like another balanced roster. But MK1 definitely gives it a run for its money. Like they're on par with each other, and like seeing like some cameo innovations here and there is always welcome. Like I honestly didn't think that Peacemaker Jax was still gonna be like I thought it was like gonna be on the gimmicky side of like picks, but like it is like a decent knowledge check, so it's kind of cool to see like elbow drop, ground pound like shenanigans, and I always thought like Omni Man Movado was gonna be like the sure cameo pick for Omni Man, but Tremor's like kind of been the wave as of recently now. So yeah, it's pretty cool like the variety MK1 has. There are some characters I don't like playing against so much, like Homelander and Cyrax specifically. But yeah, there's a lot of diversity in the roster, which is always good for a game's health.
No, absolutely. Well, I do want to wrap it up here shortly because again, we're talking to a guy who just streamed for 3 hours, so trying to be respectful of his
This is
time.
all I do, man. You're chilling now. You're cool. This
Yeah,
is all I do.
yeah, I know. But let me ask you this: how what's coming up for you like in the future? Are you gonna keep doing what you want? Are you like trying to expand, or maybe do something different? Are you trying to stream new games? Are you trying to maybe look beyond Mortal Kombat? Tell us about that.
Currently at the moment, I'm just getting ready for like a new season of our qualifier series. But honestly, like I don't know. I know people always, it's always on to bigger and better things. And if opportunities did present themselves, most certainly I would. I feel like I still have a lot of growing to do though. Like I gotta first, establish what we have here. And if we can do so, then God willing. But I'm perfectly happy doing this every single day. Like this gets me up in the morning. Um, the events they usually start around like 10 a.m. my time. I have mods already taking care of it, which thankful for them. But and so yeah, this is pretty much what I want to do. If like I feel like this is what people who like streaming and hosting events. If you just kind of told them like hey, you can do this every single day, and it's gonna feel like work after a while, but it's gonna be very rewarding. You get to hang out with people you like, people who enjoy what you do. Um, there's always gonna be naysayers in anything you do, but still, if you're enjoying it, you're having fun, then just keep doing it. So as far as other games, not so much. I'm curious to see what the next title is going to be, whether it's Injustice or a new MK. We tried doing one Street Fighter event a little while back and didn't keep pursuing that. It just seems kind of hard to get into like a new community. Like you're in MK, you're in the NRS kind of space. It seems very hard, in my opinion, not impossible, but just very hard to kind of to break into a new community. You know, you've got to build yourself a player base. Your audience might not like that you're shifting left and right from games. Um,
Good
and
point.
so, yeah, no, it can be a bit of a struggle. You know, like I announced a Street Fighter event a while back, and you know, we found a couple. It's just MK players turned Street Fighter essentially. But it seems like kind of hard for me, but not impossible. But yeah, no. I just like I like Mortal Kombat, man. I like what NRS has done. There's gonna be gripes with anything you can find, but I don't know. I like this franchise a lot. I like the characters, and I think that's why people like Mortal Kombat still gets views. You know, whether it's Combo Breaker, or Anywhere, CEO, as people really like the characters, the lore. You know, it's the only game you can finish your opponent, you can kill them, you can do whatever you want. So I think this game's always gonna have a following, but no, I'm just hoping things, you know, look good for the company in the future, and we're gonna keep streaming, man, till the lights go off.
No, well said. I think one of the issues with the Mortal Kombat community, and I hold myself accountable to this, in this respect, is that we really don't have good leaders. So it's very good to see, obviously, you step up, um, Mr. Aquaman, Rip, right? Because we need people to step up to promote our scene. Sometimes, again, you're right in the sense that certain games, they don't have a good first year, like like you documented Mortal Kombat 1, and we all called it out, right? On sometimes maybe a game is not like as popular as it could have been, or maybe the meta isn't entertaining, and we will have those discussions, and we will continue to have them. However, at the end of the day, like, you need people to stand up for the community. You need people to be generous to do something on behalf of others, and that's exactly what you're doing. um, you don't have to do this, you're doing it to build a community, and I think that's kind of what we need heading forward. Again, that doesn't mean we never criticize the game, that we're shills, that we say, oh, this is just great. No, it's like, no, we can still say what we like and dislike, but at the end of the day, like, you have to support your players, you have to support your scene, you have to support your game. Always remind people, uh, how did Evo get started? We started with more Marvels of Capcom 2. Yet
Mhm.
that game is incredibly flawed. Like, it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, I don't even have to, just watch it. I don't even have to. I mean, Marvel in general, like, is incredibly flawed, yet highly entertaining, right? In terms of the gameplay, in terms of the people like Justin Wong, who made it famous, Yipes, et cetera, and many others, right? Like, they're the ones who gave you essentially the birth of of the American scene, right? And we have
Mhm.
obviously ultimate players who partially give birth to the Mortal Kombat scene. But it starts with leaders. It starts with people. It starts with people supporting stuff. It starts with people supporting the games, in spite of their flaws. And I think you're kind of doing that, and you're on the right track.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no. I love streaming this game. I love the community. I love just seeing people in chat every single day. It just makes you feel like you're doing something right. You know, the players, you know, you try to get them as much EXP as you can. You know, if you can get them some money at the end of the day, that's perfect as well. It makes them happy. It keeps them coming back. I just feel like I'm trying to check boxes like every single day. Like, did I make my co-commentator happy? Did I make the people in chat happy? Am I making the players happy? And if you can check all three of those boxes, then I think it's a successful tournament, and that will turn into something bigger. And you know, people will keep coming back. People are gonna keep asking you when's the next event. Like, we used to try to do 2 events a day. We did that for a while. I don't recommend that. Um,
No,
it
yeah,
is
that's too
six
much.
hours of streaming. It
Yeah,
is
that's
not
crazy. Yeah.
at a certain time you kind of check out, but you know, just stay sharp for these guys, and they like what you're doing. They'll keep coming back, man.
No, absolutely. And I even tell, King Jr., I love having this podcast, but, like, dude, we gotta, like, try to limit, with, like, hour and a half, 2 hours, because after a while, even, it's like, I need a break. I need to go to the bathroom. It's just like,
That's a That's
it
a
just
very
makes
real thing, by the way. Like after 2 hours, like like naturally your energy will go down, and
exactly.
you want people to see you. You know, when you're at your most excited, I guess is the right way to say it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. So I 100% understand you. I think, dude, anybody streaming 6 hours, like, yeah, that's craziness. I think
yeah.
2, 3 hours. I think that's perfect for one day, to say the least. I,
Mhm.
I mean, even after, every second day, if you ask me. But um, tell us where people can find you. Obviously, Vape Coach on YouTube, Vape Coach on Twitch. Um, what is your Twitter?
We don't. I don't use Twitter. What do you call it? Just basically just Twitch, YouTube, and and Discord. That's basically the way you can find me. And if I see you in chat, I'll be sure as hell to shout you out. I get excited whenever whenever there's a new person in chat. Um, but yeah, no, that's basically it. Those three platforms. Um, More than happy to have anybody around. Anybody's welcome to come hang out. And yeah, but either way, I just want to say a big thank you to both of you for having me. This was awesome. And it's kind of cool. Like you watch this kind of like, 2019, 2020, and here you are. It's kind of a cool feeling. So appreciate
No,
you guys again for
absolutely.
having me.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you on. Again, this is Vape
Ooh,
Coach.
ooh, don't end it yet.
Go
Wait, hold up.
go
I
go
don't
ahead.
mean to hold you up either, but yeah, I just
No,
want to give a
no.
shout outs to all the tournament organizers, yourself included, Demon Lobby, Coliseum, Destroyers, Champions of the Realms, like, and all these, like, because it's not like it is like a very time consuming, and sometimes like it does
Yeah.
drain your battery a little bit too. I actually thought about maybe running an online tournament in the future, but obviously there's like a lot of organizing that goes into it with bracketing and uh, commentary and all the production that goes into it. So I just want to give it props. Like we usually cover like tournament players and their perspectives, but I think it's always cool to get like a commentator or organizer's like a perspective too, just to like shed some light and maybe players can understand the perspectives a little better because sometimes they don't always understand like the event side of things.
Absolutely. And I also want to add Honeybee because Vape mentioned him, Honeybee to that list as well as Unbearable Skill. I believe he uploaded some MKX the other day I was watching. So
Oh yeah,
want to add,
Slayer
yeah,
too at one point was
yeah,
uploading lots of tournaments too.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you guys don't mind, if I can give some shout outs to some up and coming guys that are doing their events.
Of
Um,
course.
there's a couple guys still out there. Banish Brawl, he's doing basically daily events. Zombie Narwhal, he's just came to the last Ronins. He's doing a lot of good stuff. Tandemonium, and then Shirai Ryu TV, they've been around for a while. They upload pretty
Oh yeah,
much
yeah,
weekly as well. I
yeah.
want to give them a big shout out. Everybody doing your thing, man. Yeah, Demon Lobby Rips. Um, Anybody who's still out there doing your thing, man, just keep on going. Let's make it to the next game.
All right, man. So this is the man known for assembling the most competitive Mortal Kombat one, players on the globe and having them duke it out. So we want to thank him. Could keep doing what you're doing. And as I'm still watching while we were talking, I'm gonna finish watching and I'm gonna go to the gym. So, Vape Coach, a pleasure, man. Really an honor to have you on.
Thank you for having me, guys. Much love.
All right, folks. We'll see you in episode 30. We'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.